Well, hello and welcome to the D Street view on the battle of ballots and the outcome thereof. I am Niraj Shah with Ayesha Faridi, and seems like the market will be happy with this result in a big way.
Ecstatic.
Yeah.
It's an understatement, happiness. But yeah, it's the saffron wave which has engulfed the state of Uttar Pradesh, the key one of them all, as it's a thumping victory now for Prime Minister Narendra Modi-led Bharatiya Janata Party, which has snatched big leads in more than 313 seats in a 403 assembly seat number, registering its best performance in close to 32 years in India's heartland, setting the stage now for a possible coup in 2019 general elections. That's what everyone, at least here in our newsroom, is talking about. The message is very clear. Modi is India's most invincible leader who has decimated the Samajwadi Party Congress alliance, leaving the incumbent and its junior ally with just about 64 leads and beating down regional Dalit queen Mayawati as well to a paltry share of just about 18. And the Modi wave has hit the hill state of Uttarakhand as well, where it turned out to be a big embarrassment for the incumbent chief minister, that's Harish Rawat, who managed to lose both his constituencies and is now ready to step down as the chief minister tomorrow, Niraj.
Yeah, and you know, it's while the crucial border state of Punjab, which has saved the face for Congress, more importantly for Captain Amrinder Singh and not really for Rahul Gandhi. But yeah, Captain Amrinder Singh has defied that wave and in a way, in anti-incumbency, has clinched an absolute majority, 75 seats in the kitty. And Aam Aadmi Party actually failed to make any mark, even as the anti-incumbency, of course, routed the Akali BJP combined. But, well, India's coastal paradise has a different story to tell. BJP's faced a bit of a setback in Goa. But I think the markets will be happy with the two major states, which is Uttar Pradesh and Uttarakhand, having come to the BJP's way. The question mark is, what does the market do? Come Tuesday, come next week, and come over the medium term as well, because this seems to be a clear message that 2019 is not out of grasp. Is it BJP's election to lose as opposed to anybody else's? Nilesh Shah, MD of Kotak AMC, Abhay, Aima, Country Head Private Banking Group, HDFC Bank, join in to kickstart this discussion. Gentlemen, both of you, thanks so much for joining in. Nilesh, I think, well, if we look at the indications, you know, we've been talking about the Bhuj Nifty, so on and so forth. It's a clear message that the markets have liked this. The question is, will the markets continue to like it after a big gap up that we are likely to see come Tuesday morning?
It's always difficult to predict short-term movement, but it's easy to say that on Tuesday markets will open with gap up. Probably it will try to reclaim all-time high level, but thereafter there are certain global events which could impact market in the near term. What Fed does in its policy meeting will certainly have some repercussions on market, but the longer term, you know, markets will be now looking forward is acceleration in economic reforms. With this resounding victory, clearly BJP gets majority in Rajya Sabha post 2018. That increases their capacity to push through economic regulations. So markets will be now looking forward to accelerated economic reforms and step up in growth from 7% last quarter to probably towards the higher level, and if we can cross magical double-digit number, that will be Sone Pe Suhaga.
Abhay, Aima, evening. I'm not going to make you stick your neck out on what we're going to see on Tuesday, but it's surprising as to how it always comes to the upper house debate yet again. And you know, with the Rajya Sabha math, it still may not be the leading number of seats for the BJP. Do you think that even matters now? Or do you think 2019 is something which is a given now? It's going to be a coup for the BJP yet again?
See, yeah, 2019, if you look at today's numbers, that already UP, you're talking of 60 to 65 Lok Sabha seats. So everything being the same, I think. But you know, I want to make a point where you should look, I think, because rest everything is being discussed, that I think is a more structural event. If you look beyond the event and if you go back to 2015, where for me there was a clear indications of a paradigm shift in the way politics is being done, UP elections, and especially UP, because that was the most ridden with caste, religion, and family kind of way politics was done. There is a clear shift. The shift has been confirmed. What I see with this 300 plus seats that BJP got. So if that is correct, and now it is, I think there's a confirmation if one looks in that direction, then you're talking a structural shift in the way politics is done. Now that to me is a much bigger, longer impact as far as Indian economy goes, because politics, if it moves away, and not if it moves away, I think it has moved away from the family you come from, the religion you are, the caste you are. So people are not anymore going to look at, I want a Hindu job or a Muslim job or a upper caste job or a lower caste job, but I need a job and someone who can provide it to me, or which then correlates into economic activity, which correlates into better economics. Now, if all this is as I see it, and I'm sure most people will see it that way after the results, if you analyze the results, then clearly we are talking of a relatively different country, the politics being in a different way. And then irrespective of whether it is BJP or any other party which comes in 2019 and years going ahead, we are seeing a fundamental change the way economics and politics of this country will be run. To me, that is a bigger picture that is emerging, and that is what I'm most bullish about.
Point, but Ajay Srivastava is also with us, and Ajay, my question to you though is this: do you think that there is that spate of money which now would come in with a perspective of the current government in its shape and form staying in power for the next 7.5 years, continuation of policy and a few other things that we keep on hearing? But it seems to be that if that's the case, then that color of money also finds its way in lock, stock, barrel into the Indian markets over the course of the next 1-2 months.
Well, I think, first thing is, one would tend to start believing the legend of the Pied Piper with this election, that you can really take the people up to something which is incredibly awesome India has never seen. Having said that, I think we will move beyond this election. I think, yes, there is no doubt the importance of the election, the inflection point, the victories. We have seen Congress, we are winning 400 odd Lok Sabha seats at one point of time. So it's not that something, so fundamental has happened that there'll be a dramatic shift in the way people look at it. People look at fundamentals, people look at other things. But yes, it's at once kind of relief to the system which was expecting a lot of political volatility running into the Lok Sabha election. To that extent, there is relief in the capital market, there is relief in the business segment, that there will be a continuity of policy. Now, whether it translates to equal benefits to all parts of the economic activity, from the large corporates to the smaller SMSE, I don't know whether that's the correct way to look at it. But the fact is, relief on continuity, relief on the fact that the policies will continue. Having said that, let's also understand that the agenda of the government has been shifting little bit slowly by slowly to more welfare-related policies in the last 12 to 18 months compared to what they came in at as a platform. And I think if you look at the UP election, that's going to be more and more visible as time goes by. So whether it's going to be a clear path to money coming in, I don't think that's an issue or dependent on this election. I think the issue on the money coming in is if the fundamentals are right, do we get the fixed capital formation correctly done in this country, is the employment generation going to happen, etc. To that extent, yes, there is a relief that there is now a continuity, uncertainty is over. Having said that, you look at Punjab, which is next door, which had a very different experience altogether compared to UP. It had a overwhelmingly gave power to a party which is lost so overwhelming in UP. So I think, in a manner of speaking, the verdict is not very clear whether the economic policy has been rewarded here, or whether the administrative work on the ground has been rewarded, or sure the people in UP were sick and tired of the dispensation of the Samajwadi Party and just didn't care as to who came in in replacement of them. Could be one of all three factors. So I don't think you can just extrapolate this as a economic policy event. It's also a social policy event as well.
Sure. But Ayesha, the only reason why, I mean, just that small bit of difference is that 2014, a thumping victory for the BJP in the state of UP in the Lok Sabha polls, and this follows that, and a thumping victory yet again. So, I mean, I'm just saying that my belief is that, Punjab, you can understand that anti-incumbency was there, but here, I think there is more of the continuation of what the Modi magic was in 2014 about development and infrastructure, so on and so forth, and all the promises that he had done. Yes, there are some other promises that were given ahead of this, but I think it's a continuation, and that might something that we may well see in 2019 as well.
That's what Ajay is saying, right? He's saying each state has voted on a very different parameter. But Nilesh, what to your mind is going to be on Modi's agenda now? Because in the past, somewhat, we have seen him take a very socialist texture, which I guess he needed to because of the state elections. But what comes next? Will growth be above all? Will it be about GST implementation? Will it be about privatization? What is going to be next on his agenda?
Undoubtedly, majority of election was fought on jobs, development and growth. And clearly, the growth was accelerating in the first and second quarter of FY17. And with demonetization, while the numbers are not capturing it, but there was some amount of slowdown in growth. So going forward, the agenda of the government will be to accelerate growth. And this can be done by one, creating the ease of doing business on ground. We are already receiving one of the largest foreign direct investment in the world. It's time that foreign direct investment is complemented by private sector investment, and the massive pool of saving generated by Indians is put into investments. Today, private sector investment is on the back foot, so government must take steps in terms of providing liquidity, in terms of cutting interest rates, in terms of increasing ease of doing business on the ground, in terms of simplifying the, if one can call the toughness of carrying out business activity in India. So accelerating growth through encouraging investment, I think that will be the sole agenda for the government. On the economic side, of course, they have to manage the social and political side, but from economic point of view, market will be looking to the government to accelerate growth.
Abhay, let me ask this to you. What the government probably needs to do hasn't really changed ahead of, before and after this election verdict. What this election verdict does is it gives the government the ammo to do something that it maybe could not have done if they had lost the election. That's my question to you. What does this verdict give the government the ammo to do?
No, firstly, please, while different Punjab has voted differently, but if you see the underlying theme, I think people have voted for where they can see someone is able to, if the governance is bad, if the development is bad, which is the case in Akali case that has been. So that was the point I was trying to make earlier, that there seems to be a move towards selecting people who are oriented towards development, who are action oriented, who are willing to take some risk for the country. So that is very clearly, seems to be the agenda of the voters going ahead, and it is across the board. To me, it is not just UP being the prime example because it had maximum number of problems on caste and so forth. Because if that was a criteria, 306 odd seats has to be inclusive. Every section of the, if you go into the voting pattern, if every section of the society has not voted, they could not get 240, 250. Yes, a lot of sections would have been, not been included in. So clearly, every section voted for that, irrespective of whether they were the religion or the caste. So you had a BSP which gave seat to 100 Muslims, but you saw what has happened. You had a BJP which didn't give us, a single seat to a Muslim, but clearly that didn't stop Muslims from voting for it. That to me is, a very important message. And yes, to answer your question, it definitely, if you have taken a step, while we will still debate, a debate will still go on what demonetization has actually done as far as the economics of the country goes, but it was someone, at least for a change in the last 10 years, took a step for the country. Now, how it pans out, we can debate that. And while I may think it was good, but at least there is a leader who is taking those kind of steps. So that, I think, has got emboldened or encouraged by the verdict that he has received. That clearly, yes, we appreciate. Rather than sitting and doing nothing, you are taking some action and not playing it safe. You are willing to take the risk for the sake of the country. So to me, that is the message, and that should be the message to the government, and that should obviously encourage them to go ahead and tackle situations without really worrying about the traditional way of fallout of the politics of it. And I think this government, to that extent, while I heard you saying is a socialist kind of measure, I disagree with that, because after demonetization, everyone and their uncle, including me, thought the budget is going to have soaps for the poorer people, and Jan Dhan account is going to get credited with some money, or loans are going to, but give them credit. I mean, there was not even the best thing about the budget was there was not, in spite of demonetization and the difficulty people faced, there was not a single step which I would call populist to that extent in that budget. So if that is how the government is thinking, and if that is to go by, it has been strengthened by the UP results, then clearly you will see many more steps like that going ahead.
No, what we meant to say by that is, purely because of the election manifestos, Abhay, because, Uttar Pradesh talks about this 10-point manifesto, there's talk about rural electrification, job creation, etc. So purely in that sense, a bit of a socialist texture. But Ajay Srivastava, what from here for the market? Does the market continue to focus on growth stories, no sectoral calls, individual stock-specific moves, or do you think we're going to see sort of this wave or tide of the rally in the market lifting all and sundry?
I think it lifts all and sundry. In my view, I think the general optimism should spill over on the day we open. There should be a lot of buying, because also let's understand that a lot of selling took place in the last 7 to 10 days. People are taking off positions. You saw metal stocks kind of selling off. You saw banking, PSU banking stocks selling off. So there was a kind of booking of profit, one were to say so, and more money was on the sideline waiting for the election result. This should give one impetus to the election results that, listen, this is done and dusted, and now we will not see any major uncertainty, because the next elections are really Gujarat and so on, which have some importance, but now with this victory is not looking such a imponderable for the BJP. So to that extent, I think the worries are over to the extent the markets will start to look at it. They are expensive, but I think there will be a lot more money coming into this market in the immediate aftermath of this election. Rightfully, wrongfully, the market will tell us. And I think we will see a lot more traction on the PSU stocks, because this gives us one big freedom for the government to deal with PSUs in the right manner. Some will be sold. We've already seen encashment of PSUs. We've already seen dividends of PSUs. You might see things like Hindustan Zinc transaction finally coming through in terms of sale. You might see Nalco dilution coming through. So I think look at commodity, oil marketing, and all the PSU bunch of stocks. You could see now bank consolidation of public sector banks coming through, because a big issue on the consolidation has been, under our understanding, is when you consolidate banks, you have redundancies. They were worried that how do we take off so many people. I think this will give courage to them that we can sell a story to the people. So in my view, it's going to be general upsurge, but mostly it will be factored around things like automobiles. It will be PSU stocks will gain the most from this, and of course let's not forget the sugar companies. I think they will see a good round of another bout of investments after the run up of the last year. So I think these three blocks should see a major inflow of money as investors come in starting on the first trading day.
Be very interesting for the sugar space, I'm sure. Yeah. After how many years? 32 years, is it, that you have
such a resounding victory?
Such a resounding victory, and the BJP comes to power. Now, Nilesh, a quick thought from you really, Nilesh. One is that what happens to the index earnings, and which is one thing, but a lot of measures that are being done are not necessarily impacting the earnings of those Sensex 30 or Nifty 50 companies, but impacting the earnings of the, the Nifty 2 or the NSE 200 space. They need not necessarily have an impact on the benchmark index earnings as well. Do you reckon that while we do go up on Tuesday and probably over the near term a bit more, the ancillary bull market could continue and earnings will catch up pace with the way the market is going to move?
Definitely, when we look at broad market, then the earning numbers don't look encouraging. For FY15, BSE 200 delivered earnings growth of minus 4.2%. For FY16, that turned out to be muted 0.4%. But if you go inside the 200 companies, in FY15 you could see 105 companies delivering more than 21% earnings growth. In FY16, 101 companies delivered more than 31% earnings growth. So there is a component of market, be it in private sector banks and NBFCs, be it in automobiles and auto components, be it in domestic focused pharma companies, be it in cement and building materials, some FMCGs. I mean, these are all the sectors which are showing 20% plus earnings growth. And clearly the broad market weighed down by the commodities and public sector bank NPS has not shown earnings growth, but a component of market across sectors have delivered fantastic earnings growth, and we think going forward the same trend will continue. There will be stocks across sectors which will deliver earnings growth, some ahead of expectation, some in line with expectation, and there will be sector where probably earnings growth will not come. So don't focus on the broad market, focus on the individual stocks, focus on your portfolio of stocks where earnings growth is coming.
Abhay, Aima, where do you find value on the table? Because the more obvious trade would be look at the GST beneficiaries, look at PSUs, that's where the government thrust is going to be. But where do you find value?
I think clearly what still looks relatively not in line with the market is the infrastructure sector, which I think will get a big boost. That is a part of the growth story in any case in any country. That is happening, and the good part is it is not the valuations are not as expensive as I see in a lot of other sectors. I would be a bit wary on some of the B group second rank stocks where somewhere the valuations, the difference between the traditional blue chips, and while I accept India is a story of B group stocks, but still I think in some cases relative to the blue chips the valuations have run far ahead. So you might see some, if a reaction comes, money being taken off there. So it's not that from tomorrow, while I sound very bullish, it's not that from tomorrow the market is going to take off like a rocket and be like that. You will see corrections, you will see stocks being beaten down, and if the run-up is too high, and with the US Fed rates probably coming into picture, you will definitely see corrections along the way. I was making my call more based on structurally. I think the way people are going to look at India, both internationally and domestically, is going to be different, and which will result in a lot of economic positives. So whether it's to do with amount of money being allocated to equities as an asset, whether it's to do with how government policies are going to be vis-a-vis various steps that need to be taken economically, all these will play out, I think, over the next 2.5 years.
Nilesh Shah, and that's what makes you as well cautious, right? Because you were alluding to that, and we just have a minute to wind up this show. So final closing comment, that in the near term, you're bound to see some corrections or some bumpy rides as well, because you've got the US Fed rate hike as well, which is impending. So in that sense, do you think this rally is going to be a little short-lived, perhaps?
We are in a mega bull trend, and there will be corrections which keeps on coming. But these are all opportunities to invest into, and one thing which I would like to point is tremendous participation by domestic investors. From 8th November to 31st Jan, FII sold more than what they had sold in 2008, and yet the markets didn't move an inch. In fact, it went up. So the domestic investors are participating wholeheartedly, and that will ensure that the corrections are temporary, transient, and the longer term trend continues to remain bullish.
Srivastava, 20-second answer. What's the fly in the ointment for you?
Sorry, is that for me?
Yes, Ajay. 20 seconds. We have to wrap up the show.
The fly in the ointment is really one, in my view, is that if the numbers in the March quarter for the results come surprisingly worse than what they were for the December quarter, that could trigger a different kind of sentiment in the market. People are hoping demonetization over, but if they find the overhang has continued, then I think the Pied Piper might fail.
Okay, gentlemen, Nilesh Shah, Abhay, Aima, Ajay Srivastava, thank you so much for joining in today, taking the time out on a Saturday and joining us. Much appreciate that. And let's hope that we hit the new highs sooner rather than later. Well, as we said, while at the time of doing the show, the Bhuj Nifty was indicating a record high level any which ways. So let's see if we do that in the first 15 minutes on Tuesday morning.
And we only hope that it lasts longer than we think it would. Okay, wind it up then in this very special edition of how the markets are likely to react on Tuesday.
Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/ETNow and don't forget to click the like button. You can also follow us on Twitter at ETNowLive. To stay updated with all our programming, hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel by logging on to youtube.com/user/ETNow.